So, welcome to the 100th episode of Amazing Individuals. This milestone episode celebrates not only our journey, but also the inspiring stories of those who motivate us every day. We are your hosts, Lisa and Kurt Noel, and we are thrilled to mark this special occasion with a very special guest, our new CEO of Special Olympics International, David Evangelista. Thank you for joining us for a heartfelt conversation about building a more inclusive world through sports and social impact. He shares his vision, leadership insights, and moving stories. Thank you for tuning in and celebrating with us, with Lisa, Kurt, and us on the remarkable episode.
Thank you very much, Lisa. I'm thrilled to be here. And I want to thank you and Kurt for bringing this podcast and this platform to the forefront. I want to also congratulate both of you. 100th episode. Gosh, I'm honored. What a number to represent. In fact, if I can be so bold, can I come back for the 200th?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
That would be wonderful. And I think it's very fitting, Lisa, that you rightfully titled this podcast as Amazing Individuals. And having heard of you and from you, it's clear that that title is very indicative of you and Kurt. Amazing in your dedication, amazing in your steadfast commitment, and amazing in your willing to engage so many people, and now 100 of them. So well done, and I am ready to rock and roll.
Well, thank you, David. I appreciate that. So,
congratulations on becoming president and CEO of Special Olympics International. Can you tell our listeners what inspired you to get involved in Special Olympics and how you did? How did you feel when you officially stepped into the CEO role?
Well, thank you very much, Kurt and Lisa. I grew up around the Special Olympics movement due to the involvement of my family in the organization around, as part of the early years, if you will. When I graduated from university, just before the turn of the century, I was compelled to do something that mattered. Like most young people, I was graduating university and I had to get a job, and there was a tendency to maybe go back to school and stay in the academic sphere. I wanted to work. I wanted to get out and be independent and so on. And I wanted to do something that mattered. I wanted to do something that actually, that had meaning. I didn't want to just take a job. And maybe, but I don't know if that was, common or not. I wanted to do something that had meaning beyond just a paycheck, if you will. I should also mention, Kurt and Lisa, that I was heavily influenced by a professor of mine from American University, where I went to university. His name was Albert Mott. And he encouraged me to do my senior thesis. At the university, we always, everyone does thesis, on the study of eugenics, which is a field of study years ago that really was manipulated and created a lot of stigmatization and institutionalization of people with different abilities. Not only people with intellectual disabilities, but namely. And so I was very influenced by that work, and I was heavily influenced by him. And so as I look back, I was intrigued by this idea that I could contribute to something, not only that had meaning, but that is something that I kind of understood. I was involved in Special Olympics as a child, and it made sense. I could never have imagined the trajectory that I experienced working at Special Olympics. And so, Kurt, to answer your question, it was almost with, I want to choose my words wisely. there was this mixture of incredible excitement, honor, but also almost disbelief that I was appointed as chief executive officer, simply because I have been with the movement for many years. I not only do I believe, but I've seen the transformational power that comes through our work. And so it was almost with disbelief that I said to my, I mean, could this be real? Could it really be? Could I really be CEO? I mean, is it really? Those things where you say to yourself, "Gosh, could this really be happening?"
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's with a great sense of seriousness and pride and responsibility that I take this role. If I could be very honest in this podcast,
Mm-hmm.
there was also and still remains, I guess, a bit of trepidation and fear. Not fear in the traditional sense, but given how serious this work is,
Mm-hmm.
given how urgent this theme is, and given the responsibility of representing and working with and empowering, amazing individuals like you and countless millions of others, um, there's a great sense of seriousness that comes from this, and that's something that I would say, Kurt, has been very clear to me. I've recognized sometimes I have to take a deep breath
Mhm.
and remember the how many implications there are to this work, to this movement. And I'm very proud to say that to both of you, that I always think, I'm not only leading a team, and in many ways, I should say the team's actually leading me in some regards. But I represent together with our team, together with our chairman, Dr. Timothy Shriver, our board of directors, very esteemed board, and what a prolific leader in Tim Shriver. But that we're representing the dreams and aspirations of people, and we have a responsibility to that. And it's urgent. It's not something that can wait.
Mhm.
And so these are just some of the things that go through my head when I wake up in the morning, and some of the things that I go through my head when I'm going to sleep at night. So Kurt and Lisa, I hope I answered your question.
Yeah.
You did. And to follow up with that, what is, I'll just ask what is your vision for the future of Special Olympics, and how does it, I know we're trying to be a more athlete-led organization, so, what is your vision of how athlete leaders like ourselves can be part of that vision as well? So,
Well, first off, you are the part. I mean, you are the part. Um, I have a I have I have an eagerness to ensure that the athletes of Special Olympics can manifest and amplify their voice in ways that we still have yet to see in a more sustained way. For instance, Lisa and Kurt, it's not uncommon, and I'm very proud to say this, and we should all be very proud to say that, it's not uncommon for media groups to come to our games, world
mhm,
games, national games, regional games. Even local newspapers will come to local bowling tournaments or badminton tournaments or downhill skiing events. How many times are the athletes of Special Olympics invited to the studio?
mhm, mhm,
How often are they brought to the table of government leaders? I think it's wonderful that government leaders will come to our games and meet our athletes and meet the families. How many times are the athletes brought to the tables of the government on decisions regarding people with intellectual disabilities, on the way in which government can be investing more in sports and inclusion and health and education? How many times has an athlete of Special Olympics been brought to a major conference that's not a Special Olympics event, but
mhm,
that the voice of these athletes can amplify the message that these organizations or companies wish to disseminate? My vision is that not only will we have media coming to us, but that we will go to them.
mhm.
And I mean, I shouldn't say it's not just media, but let's face it. Media holds a very important role in ensuring that the larger population around the world not only sees us but understands the urgency of our creed.
Mhm.
Let me win, but if I cannot win, let me be brave in the attempt. Let me demonstrate courage. Let me show you that I'm not so concerned about being a winner as much as I'm about being brave and about representing the ideals and principles of a movement that can transform all of us. That's very important to me. So that's the vision I have. That we need to be more engaged, and the athletes need to be at the table, not only at our events, but in the bloodstream of the mainstream, as they say.
Mhm. Actually, that leads into your next question with the media too.
Lisa and I are both athlete leaders and um, podcast hosts. Why do you believe athlete voices are so important in media and storytelling?
I I can't overstate, Kurt, how important I believe the storytelling ability of athletes are. I, I'm very proud to say that one of the first kind of inspirations that I had as a very young adult is Kester Edwards, an athlete from Special Olympics Trinidad and Tobago, who's now a sports official here in our headquarter office, a dear friend of many years. His storytelling ability was what got me to understand. Um, Let me backtrack here. Many people told me, what Special Olympics was. And many people in Special Olympics told me how Special Olympics was. And when I started working, I understood where Special Olympics was. And when you go to the games and you understand when Special Olympics is. Kester Edwards taught me why Special Olympics is.
Mm.
And the ability for athletes and the families and the volunteers and the law enforcement officers and the doctors and the teachers, but namely the athletes and coaches, their story is what will teach people why Special Olympics. And at the end of the day, when we make decisions in our lives, what food we buy at the supermarket and where we go on vacation and what friends we go see on a Friday night or what prayers we say before we go to bed or what breakfast we have in the morning. We don't often think about this, but we subconsciously we're asking ourselves why.
Mhm.
Why?
Mhm.
And so for me, when people are asking themselves, why is the world so divided? Why are we so against one another? Why can't we see each other? Why do we always chip away at people's dignity? Why are we dehumanizing? I also want them to ask themselves, why is Special Olympics such a powerful part of our community? And why are the athletes so convincing? And why are the coaches so dedicated? And why are the families so engaging? I really do believe that the athletes' ability to tell their story and the families and the coaches is what will make the difference between our movement growing and not. Now, granted, Kurt, there's probably a lot more to that than I could say on this podcast, but um, there's a lot of times when you see, especially on the news and so on, they do this pretty often. You can get lost in all of the statistics.
Mhm.
You can get lost in numbers and stats and so on. And, at the end of the day, um, what most people are after, Kurt, is Lisa and Kurt,
Mhm.
somebody with a name, with a smile, with an identity, with a basketball sweatshirt on, people who actually they can call and say, "Hi, my name's David. Are you Lisa?" Not
Mhm.
are you one of 5 million people? No, are you Lisa?
Mhm.
Most people are compelled by the individual, the humanity that connects us.
Mhm.
I think in some regards we've lost that, and I think the world is becoming increasingly agitated and irritated that no matter where they look, they're not finding teachers that are giving them lessons that actually matter.
Mhm.
Um, whether it be politics or business or whatever it is. And I just think the world is hungry for the amazing individual story.
Mhm.
I think that story is what's going to get people to understand, there's something better here.
Mhm.
Um, forgive the passion on this, but I really do believe that, Kurt. I think the athletes of Special Olympics, and it's amazing this happened 58 years
Mhm.
after its founding, but I think that the athletes of Special Olympics are probably more important now
Mhm.
than they've ever been in the history of our organization. Um,
Yeah, and funny you should say that because I know that when we go to different events, especially when they find out he's done it for so long, then there's that they always ask you, how it was back when he started and what the difference is, and they want to hear like his perspective, and then we've got now a few volunteers, being part of the movement because of that, because they've heard how long he's done it and how it impacts his life as well as when they ask both of us as well. So like you said, I think that just hearing our stories kind of amplify that. So and I guess going into that, also hearing our stories though, how do you think you had mentioned having the athletes part of the decision making process? um how do you think that athlete leaders can play a part in helping shape the future of our movement, and why do you think it's important for the athletes to be included in that, 'cause sort of like the USALC or like the athlete leadership councils or whatever. So
yeah, well, I guess I think it's of the highest importance,
Mhm.
Lisa, and I'll tell you why. And I've got a couple of examples, if it's okay, that I'll share.
Sure.
Um, I think it's very important for athletes to be part of all of our internal organizations, the United States Leadership Council and the Law Enforcement Torch Run Council and the Global Athlete Congress led by Kira Byland, remarkably, and Nyasha before, and Gilmore Borg and Margaret Turley and so many other great athlete leaders. But um, I think it's also important that they be part of the external. For instance, and I'm just going to give a couple of quick examples. There are many national governments around the world in countries like Romania and Jamaica and Kenya and Malawi and Vietnam and a number of countries that they have governments sitting down and they're developing policies and they're putting budget allocations. They're pledging money
Mm-hmm.
to a whole bunch of new strategies and new initiatives around inclusion and education and health and sport and so on. The athletes of Special Olympics have to be at that table.
Mm-hmm.
They have to be able to share with these decision makers why Special Olympics is the most cost effective, cost efficient, transformative sports model that brings improved health, improved education, all of these things. Um, that the input of the athletes, their lived experience and their aspirations, but also their knowledge, is of the highest importance to these governments. And by the way, Lisa and Kurt, we're seeing this. This is not what David thinks. This is what David has seen. Um, but it's not happening enough.
Mm-hmm.
So, do I have some examples? Sure, but I should have countless examples.
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't have some examples. I should have an encyclopedia of examples.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a lot of work to do.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of work to do. The good news is we're on the right track. I just believe that we are right to be a bit impatient.
Mm-hmm.
58 years has shown the world we are growing and growing and growing, and our athletes get stronger and stronger and stronger. Our brand gets more and more visible. you got to get us to the table.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's these types of podcasts and leaders like yourselves that will be the kind of the glue that not only makes it happen, but makes it stick.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I think it's remarkable. 100th episode. Gosh, it's great, Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
Mm. And David, that's kind of what I always say. Like even on my and that's what we actually in our last USALC meeting we were talking about this, about how you know it's nice that you guys that there's a CEO and there's the boards, but ultimately the decisions that you guys make affect us in the long run. So we should, like you said, we feel like we should have and that's my passion is that we should have a voice at that table because like I said, ultimately decisions affect us as in the long run. And you know, it's great that you guys think of all these ideas, but again, to hear the athlete's voice about okay, what is its policy? How do you think it's going to affect everybody? And an athlete or the athletes. So, I think that would, I think it gets lost sometimes. So,
I do believe it gets lost, and
hmm
that's why we need to be very uh we've got to be very purposeful about it, and we have to be almost kind of incessant.
hmm
Um Lisa, I think we'll get there, but it's not going to be easy.
right, right,
Then again, it probably shouldn't be easy because if it was easy, probably wouldn't be worth much,
hmm
if you know what I mean.
hmm hmm
So, but the athlete leadership for me, Lisa and Kurt, is one of my three top priorities as CEO. I want to be investing a lot more in athlete leadership, and I want to get more innovative. I want to invest more in our MATP programming that supports the individuals, our athletes that have severe and profound
hmm
intellectual and often physical disabilities, their families. I want to support a lot of the work we're doing with national governments because I think far too often national governments think that groups like us will just keep going because of people's donations. Lisa and Kurt are citizens of countries.
hmm
And there's a Lisa and a Kurt and in Cote d'Ivoire. There's a Lisa and a Kurt in Paraguay. There's a Lisa and Kurt in Brazil. There's a Lisa and Kurt in Barbados. And those governments have an obligation to those athletes just like anyone else.
hmm
I don't believe it's the role of the private sector or philanthropy alone. I think national governments need to understand that to harness the strongest and maximize the benefits of Special Olympics, it will come with investment.
hmm
And what better person to invest in than Lisa Noble or Loretta Claiborne or Lucy Meyer or Gilmore Borg? Who better to invest in than an athlete who can show you, look, I now represent my neighborhood. I represent my nation. I have a job. I learned all of these things through the power of sport. I got an education. I have a high school degree. I have a university degree. I coach. I'm a community member. I'm a club member. I'm part of my community.
hmm
I'm not on the margins. I'm in the center. Um, I think national governments have an obligation, and our job is to ensure that we position Kurt and Lisa and athlete leaders like yourselves to tell that story,
hmm
Kurt. And that's why I keep going back to storytelling because a lot of these governments, they see all the numbers, they see all the
hmm
budgets, they see all that stuff, but do they have a story that really gets under their skin?
right.
They have a story that says to them, "Gosh, I didn't even know this guy, Kurt.
hmm
Holy smokes, I can't stop thinking about what he said."
hmm
You know, that's my vision, Lisa.
If I could tell you my life story, it would go on and on, and it wouldn't stop because it's so long.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, like
Good.
you said, people don't realize, like, like what is it? You started competing, but like now you're giving back too,
Yep,
because
I'm volunteering now.
team
I'm a team manager now for our team sports and
for the sports you don't play anymore.
for the sports I don't play anymore. So I'm team manager now, and I really enjoy it.
So, but again, that goes to the storytelling, like you were saying, is like, it shows like the community that, he's just not an athlete, or he's just not somebody with an intellectual disability, that he can actually be part of something and be part of the community. So,
That's
but,
exactly right. And
yeah.
and and I think and I think the more uh the more we tell the story that he is a fully fledged member of the community, it will actually make the Special Olympics engagement even more powerful
Mm-hmm.
because everyone will look at, wow, he does all this stuff for his community. Well, what's the connection to all those things? Special Olympics.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
How did he get a job? Well, he
Mm-hmm.
got a job because he learned all these skills, when he was competing and training at Special Olympics. How did he learn how to publicly speak so well? Because he underwent the athlete leadership training at Special Olympics. How does he know all these people? Well, because he's been an engaged athlete,
Mm-hmm.
coaching and training and meeting people all these years. Gosh, how does he know so much about the community? Well, because he's lived in it.
Mm-hmm.
And because Special Olympics gave him the opportunity to come out and play badminton and play basketball, but also meet the school leaders and meet the local doctors and meet the local mayor and all these things, people will end up saying, "Gosh, this is just so much." This guy Kurt, he's really someone. He really knows his stuff. And how did he get to know all this stuff? And everyone will intuitively say, "Must be Special Olympics."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think, Kurt, you would agree with me that
Yeah,
it probably
absolutely.
is
Mhm.
Special Olympics. So that's what I think.
Yeah, no, but yeah, you agree, right? That
Yep.
Special Olympics kind of gave you it changes the directory of how your life was. So
Mhm.
yeah, and actually, David, funny story is that he's the one that got me involved in it in the first place. So I was
Really?
recovering from major neck surgery and trying to figure out what I could do, and he had me come and meet his coach, and then the rest is history. So I think, like you said,
If I can do it, you can do it.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So here, what's it here? That's all.
What are some of the biggest challenges facing people with intellectual disabilities globally today?
I think that people with intellectual disabilities still face, um, and it really gets under my skin. They still face that terrible, almost torturous stigma of misunderstanding
Mm.
and just so much stigma, so much stigma. If people knew the excitement, the value, the love, the unity, the richness that comes from engaging the athletes of Special Olympics and people with intellectual disabilities, if they knew, like so many know, like Jenny Fortner, your friend and mine, Jenny Fortner, who
Mm-hmm.
who knows so deeply, what comes from engaging in this movement. Um, the world could look so different,
Mm-hmm.
and families could be celebrated, and siblings could be given a whole new understanding, and so countless companies could be better,
Mm.
and countless nations could be healthier, and instead we just operate from this completely lazy standpoint of you're different, so you must be less.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so backward in so many regards. I understand in some regard maybe it's natural and that's our job and that's our mission, and I take it. I
Mm-hmm.
take it willingly. But I think one of the biggest challenges facing people with intellectual disabilities is the rest of us, that we're still showing signs of not wanting to do the work
Mm-hmm.
and just getting lazy.
Mhm.
And you see it in politics, you see it in a lot of the media stuff. The biggest challenge, I believe, is that people with intellectual disabilities still have national governments and national populations that have not awoken
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
to to the transformational power that comes from our work. Now, it's easy, Kurt and Lisa, for us to simply blame the rest of them, but it is our obligation to invite. You know, there's a reason that I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
I was invited.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to invite more and more people to the national games and state games and local games. That's our party.
Mm-hmm.
That's our party.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that's what that's the biggest challenge. Now, there's a lot of subsets under that, Craig. I don't want to give you the impression, oh, the biggest challenge is, you know, that the population hasn't woken up to the power of our movement. There's a lot under that.
Mm-hmm.
But and the biggest challenge, I believe, is that yeah, people still find it appropriate to stigmatize,
Mm-hmm.
and it's so damaging
Mm-hmm.
to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
To everybody. No, really,
Mm-hmm.
it's damaging to everybody. And and you know, I guess what really bothers me, Kurt, is also it's so not true.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a falsity that it's one of the areas that just gets me so I don't want to say angry,
Yeah.
motivated to continue to try to make the difference. You know, that's I'm not angry about it. Maybe I'm irritated, but
Yeah.
it does motivate me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I see the news and I see certain things that, you know, I don't sit there with smoke coming out of my ears. I sit there with fire in my belly to
Yeah.
keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's face it, anger, that's not a good emotion.
Right. Right.
That's not a transferable emotion. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to make other people angry, but I
Right.
could help motivate other people.
Right.
So,
Yeah, and like you said, it's um that's one of the reasons why we started this podcast in the first place, was because there is a lot of stigmatization. People kind of put everybody in categories, and this we wanted to highlight that everybody's unique in their own way.
yep.
And just because you might have autism, or because you have like a traumatic brain injury or something, doesn't mean you can't accomplish whatever you want. You might need you might need a little help along the way, but it's not like you can't, be a productive member of your society. So,
Well, I think that I think it requires populations
mm-hmm,
to understand, you know, what productivity means.
mm-hmm,
Um, you know, when we put together a young athletes event
mm-hmm,
and we have all these small children, with and without intellectual disabilities playing together, tumbling together, you know, falling over together,
mm-hmm,
you know, laughing together, throwing together. You have families coming together and learning about their experience with their children, their experience in schools and their experience with the local doctor and this new law or this new policy or this new initiative or the new school bus, whatever it is. That's highly productive.
mm-hmm,
There's information, there's connection, there's sharing, there's a sense of solidarity and unity. You know, but if you look at it strictly from a business profit standpoint, you'd say, well, you know, where's the benefit there? Well, I'll tell you where the benefit is for me. You know, so there's many children playing in that young athlete event.
mm-hmm,
And let's say that there's 50 children. And let's say of the 50 children, 10 of them do not have an intellectual disability. And let's say one of those children, his name is Roger.
mm-hmm,
And let's say that Roger is 6 years old and he's playing with a bunch of 2-year-olds and he doesn't see difference. He just sees kids playing.
mm-hmm,
And so, you know, he's 6 years old and he's throwing and tumbling and jumping and all of these things. And his mother is taking great pride that look at Roger and, you know, it's wonderful to be here and we have all these families and it's great. And some of them I go to church with and I even work with one of them. We didn't know that, but and all these things. And then Roger grows up and then Roger becomes 36 years old. And all of a sudden, Roger is running for public office, and maybe he's going to run for mayor of his town, and he's 36. One of Roger's first memories in life was playing. He didn't see difference. Now, at 36 years old, he might, because the world can be cruel like that. But he will always remember there's actually not a difference. I didn't see the difference.
Mm-hmm.
I was told to see a difference, but I didn't see it. I remember when I was there with my mom and dad, and I was playing with all these kids, and I didn't. You now have a mayor at 36 years old who really understands the power of inclusion, who really understands the power of unity, but really understands the value here, not just the excitement and how nice it is, but the value.
Mhm.
That's highly productive.
Mm-hmm.
That's now it does require a deeper sense of understanding that you have to exchange immediate satisfaction for long-term gain. So if people are looking at this from a productivity standpoint, there will need to be a different set of evaluation tools,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I often think about people who have experiences around our movement at a very young age and how many of them are still involved somehow, some way. And you hear this, Lisa and Kurt, over and over again, which shows me that it's kind of up to us to get that multiplier effect. The more people we get involved, the more people stay involved. And they always talk about, oh, I went to this polar plunge, or I remember volunteering at this basketball event, or my mom was a special education teacher, or my sister was a special Olympic athlete, and I've been part of it for 40 years. And I say to myself, gosh, what if there were hundreds of thousands more of those people? What would the world look like?
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that Mrs. Shriver's brilliance was making Special Olympics completely grassroots.
Mhm.
Now we have a World Games, but it's a grassroots thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's how we can get more and more people. I just think that the group platforms like this, amazing individuals, really important,
Mm-hmm.
really important.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a good example of what I'm looking for from athlete leadership. This is not a Special Olympics platform. This is a Lisa and Kurt platform. I happen to have the honor of joining you, but tomorrow you could be working with a refugee. And
Mm-hmm.
next week you could be interviewing the local mayor. Maybe his name is Roger. The point I'm saying is this is what I mean. You're taking your voice and you're saying, I have something to say. I'm a productive member of my community. I have opinions. I have lived experience that could be valuable to people. I enjoy sharing my story. I'm going to bring it to the world. That's our creed. Let me win, even in amazing individuals.
Mm-hmm.
But if I cannot, well, let me be brave. Let me try. Because let me tell you something, Kurt and Lisa. Many, 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 many people, they talk about doing things.
Mm-hmm.
Very few of them actually go do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy to talk about who's playing in the arena.
Mm-hmm.
It's really difficult when you're in the arena.
Mm-hmm.
And you're in the arena. Kurt and Lisa aren't just talking about a podcast. You've done this 100 times.
Mm-hmm.
For me, this is the greatest manifestation of what I hope to see with athlete leadership in our movement. Because you can make it Special Olympics, but you can also bring it. You can bring Special Olympics
Mm-hmm.
to new sectors, new audiences, new people, new ideas.
And that's kind of
Kurt and Lisa, I'm not going to do that well. You're going to do that.
and David, that's kind of like what we were trying to do when we did our show in Florida at the USA Games, and then that's what we're gonna try to do when we bring it to Minnesota. So for the next USA Games. So we kind of it's not just we're not just interviewing like the athletes that are competing, but we're also the coaches and family members and whoever that we can who's ever there to kind of say it's not just about and it's just not about this week of competition. This is a whole big movement, and and
Yeah.
yeah, and it's about the coaches and families and all the support systems. So yeah, that's what we try to do. So
And you said something really interesting there, Lisa and Kurt, support systems.
mm-hmm.
Don't we all need them?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Everyone always talks about how, people with intellectual disabilities, they need support systems. I don't know of anyone who doesn't need a support system. I don't know of anyone who doesn't have a special need. And everyone I meet, I don't claim to know, a lot of people, but I know people.
Mm-hmm.
All of them need support systems. All of them have special needs. All of them have insecurities. All of them want to be seen. All of them want to be brave. How many of them have the bravery to be brave?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many can be Lisa and Kurt?
Mm-hmm.
I think that both of you are unique. It's again, many people talk about doing things. You're doing it. But I believe that there's a common denominator here. There's an adhesive that connects us together at a level that anyone can see.
Mm-hmm.
Even your 6-year-old Roger, who's playing with his friends. He doesn't see autism. He doesn't see Down syndrome. He sees John. He sees Carla. He sees Paul. He sees Rodrigo. He doesn't see difference. He sees peer. He sees play. Um, I think support systems are so important, but I don't believe they're exclusive to any group. In many ways, Kurt and Lisa, you're my support system.
Mhm.
I'm a new CEO. I'm nervous. I'm trying my very best. When I'm invited to this, I gain confidence that somebody wants to hear my opinions. Somebody wants to hear my vision. I can ask questions. You can ask questions, but I was invited.
Yeah.
Somebody invited me.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody was showing me that we value you.
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge confidence booster, Lisa and Kurt.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we could be giving to larger parts of the public. Come to our games, experience look at the way the world could be. Meet Lisa, meet Kurt, meet Roger.
Mhm.
Be a coach, or just cheer on.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy yourself. Grab a hot dog and watch the 100-meter. And
Mhm.
and that's the beauty of Special Olympics. It's just a big invitation. Well, what do I do there? Whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to coach, coach. You want to volunteer, volunteer. You want to be a spectator, be a spectator. You want to hand out water bottles, hand out water bottles. You want to meet the athletes, ask.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a beautiful thing. Listen, in a world that is so scripted, everything's so scripted.
Mhm.
Special Olympics still gives you that freedom of spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it's incredibly addictive.
Mm-hmm.
What I think about
Forgive the passion. I forgive the passion, but I love this
No, that's
stuff.
okay. Oh.
what I look back at Special Olympics is what the oath means. Because when you read the oath, I take it seriously, and you're never whatever
Please.
place you come in, whether it's first, second, or last, or somewhere in the middle, you're never a loser. And um, it's like if you lost, you try again, and you keep building that up, and that's what I've done all these years. And I've been on TV. I've met lots and lots of people over the years, and so that's one of the things that's why I'm giving back, and I'm really enjoying it.
And that's what you tell our team too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that as long as you
Do-
have fun, you're right, and do our best.
and just do your best. You're gonna make You're gonna make mistakes, and that's part of it.
So
So,
I know we're closing soon. Kurt, it was really important for me to hear those words.
Mm-hmm.
It was really important for me to hear from you. And not just in my role, but
Yeah.
just in life.
Mm-hmm.
Mistakes are part of it.
Right.
Now, I don't believe all mistakes are equal.
Right.
mhm,
Right.
I don't believe all mistakes are equal, but it's really powerful for me to hear from you as an amazing individual yourself and somebody who has been part of this movement since 1979
Mm-hmm.
that mistakes are going to happen.
Right.
Accept the mistakes, do your best, but you got to do your best.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever your best is, but it's got to
Yeah.
be something you can look in the mirror and say, I was the best. I gave it my all.
mhm,
Um, I'm going to think about those words, Kurt, for the rest of the day today.
Yeah.
I want you to know that.
Uh,
And I will. You're going to make mistakes,
mhm,
but it doesn't prohibit you from doing your best.
mhm,
Maybe, Kurt, doing your best requires mistakes.
right.
mhm,
And it's
mhm.
gonna happen, but
Maybe.
you build up to that. That's why you practice, you know. So just like me,
Yeah, it's
just like me being team manager, I got nervous when we started playing basketball because I was because I had to learn how things work and where to put stuff and what I needed to do. But now I've got it down and on paper, and then I
Mhm,
I study it
mhm,
just like in all the sports that I do now.
mhm.
So
And you still make a little bit mistakes,
yeah,
but then,
but
but everybody does in life. So, you
yeah,
know,
that's all right.
yeah.
it, it's so grateful that I was invited here. I really needed this messaging. In many ways, Kurt, you answered your own question.
Right.
Your storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
You're telling the story of becoming a team manager. You're telling the story of how you overcame insecurity, that mistakes are something you accept and you keep going, and mistakes are part of the journey. And um, you, what a great way to end the call where
Yeah,
you essentially gave me the exact model I'm looking for.
exactly.
No, let me end where I started.
Mhm,
It's the most fitting title for this podcast, Amazing Individuals. I'm speaking to two of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope one day, Kurt and Lisa, I can be one.
Yeah.
mhm,
I really do. I hope one day I can be an amazing individual. But I can tell you, I'm looking at two of them, and I hope that I'm going to share with my team to keep track of amazing individuals. When you hit 198, I'm going to call you, Lisa, and say, "Hey, can I get on? Can I be the 200th?"
Yeah.
I look forward to promoting this on my social media
mhm,
channels. But most importantly, Lisa and Kurt, if I could ask, uh, please keep in touch.
Yeah.
Please give me the chance to keep in touch. I'd love to hear and be part of your journey and your story. I'd love to be able to tell your story or position you to tell it yourself,
mhm.
which is the far better option. And thank you for the invitation. It was very
Yeah.
generous of you. I've so enjoyed this, and I hope that other colleagues of mine can have the same invitation. But you've I guess to use the very vernacular phrase, you've made my day. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you, David. Before we end, if you could share a message with about Special Olympics in the future, what would that be?
If you want to discover the best side of yourself, if you want to see the best part of your community, and if you want to create a world that manifests those good parts, you have to look no further than Special Olympics. It's a movement of inclusion. It's a movement of discovery. If you want to discover the best Lisa Noble, join Special Olympics. If you want to discover the best part of David Evangelista, join Special Olympics. If you want to discover the best parts of your country, your neighborhood, join Special Olympics. Basically, Special Olympics makes you better.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would say.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you, David, so much for talking with us and helping us celebrate our 100th episode. And we will definitely have you on with the 200.
I'm coming for you for 200. I want 200.
Not a problem. So yeah.
But listen, I will continue to I'll continue to stay in touch.
Mm-hmm.
You'll probably get a thank you note from me because I believe very much in saying thank you. But most of all, keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, David, again for joining us. We really appreciate it. And we
You're
look
very
forward
welcome. Please let me know when this is going live so I can have my team put it out on social media.
Oh, I definitely will.